Hi, my name is Carolina and I am an alcoholic located in Ithaca, New York. It's so nice to see you all. I haven't been to this meeting in a minute. I haven't been to any meeting in a minute, so it's very interesting to be asked to speak. I really appreciate it because I am a person who really likes to not be part of any groups. And as I was getting distant from this group, I was like, oh God, I don't want to go back because, like, what if people missed me and then I have the pressure that they miss me? Or what if they don't even notice I was gone and then they hate me? I think about all of these things and it's just very selfish. I forget that we're here in this fellowship of AA to be here for the alcoholic who still suffers. So I'm super back. And I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Anthony, for asking me at the last minute. It's really great. And I think that when other people have spoken, and I really like it, often they say, even though at first, like for the first 3 years that I tried getting sober, I was very against the God thing. And when people would say, like, I'm going to call in my higher power, and just do whatever my higher power wants me to be doing, I used to think that was really cheesy, and I still kind of do think that's really cheesy, but I do it because it works for me. So I'm kind of jumping all around, but every night, regardless of the fact that I haven't been I haven't been meeting with my sponsor lately, and I haven't been working my program, and I haven't been coming to the meeting. Every single night when I go to bed, I say I can't remember even what step prayer it is, but it's like, thy will, not mine, be done. Like, God, just let me, God or HP, higher power, just let me know and understand what it is that you would like for me. And that's really hard because I am a person who really likes to finagle and get what I want. And I'm really great at pretending to be lots of things, including really nice and really laid back so that I can get what I want. I only have a few minutes to share, so I don't really need to share a lot about myself, but just know I had a very traumatic childhood. When I was 4.5, my mom basically kidnapped me. I was born in Colombia and brought me to the US illegally with her. So I crossed the border illegally when I was 4.5. So I was a little criminal, being very scared of the police and taught to lie and be scared of everybody. And I was put through a lot of abuse, like psychological and physical, from my mom, who really I've now learned to accept, because acceptance is a big part of this, that she's a very sick person and was doing the best she could, and also had an even more traumatic childhood than I did. So I have always been two things. One is really, really good at school and, really smart. A lot of people are smart, but I'm really good at school and really good at lying and wanting to get fucked up. And so the whole time, ever since I was very little, when I was 12, I started going through my parents' pills. My mom eventually got married to my stepdad and we moved to New Jersey. And that's what I actually started doing before I ever started drinking. But one day, I remember I was probably 14 or 15. I went to the downstairs bathroom, and I don't know why in the medicine cabinet of the downstairs bathroom in my house, there was a bottle of gin that later was what was that doing there? But I tried it and it was horrible, right? It burned. But I mentioned that because ironically, many, 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 many years later, I'm 42 now. My sobriety date is February 23rd, 2020, which I arrived at. I was 39 years old. I did not want to get sober, but I can tell you that ironically, at the end of my drinking up to this day, by the grace of HP, I fucking loved gin. And at the end of my drinking, I was drinking warm gin again. And so it was really bad. I've always been one of those drunks, one of the alcoholics who's really fucked up. And somehow, not somehow, but I still did really, really well in school. So I have a collection of Ivy League degrees. and I'm doing my PhD now. And when I started my PhD program, I broke up with my fiance and my whole life changed. And I started school, and when I started dating that fiance, I was sober and I quit drinking for a long time, for like almost a year. And then I started again because of my family inviting me to parties, because I know that I shouldn't drink. I'm like the most fucked up person that should never be drinking alcohol. No one that I know, everyone I know, including my really alcoholic friends, think I should not be drinking. I stopped being served at bars. It was just like really, really bad. Yeah. So when I started the PhD, I broke up with my fiance. I was like 38. I just like, one thing led to another. I started the PhD. I got a bunch of money in cash, like $18,000 for a fellowship I got. And I spent it in like a month. I just like went on a fucking crazy spending spree. I bought like a really expensive jacket, and I went on trips with this guy that I was having a fling with. And after that high, I just like crashed massively. And I started drinking again and got a really amazing bout of insomnia that was like, I could not sleep more than an hour, which ended up lasting over a year. And eventually what happened was, I'm going to talk about attempted suicide now. So like trigger warning. I became so depressed, and I had to take a health leave from school. And I became so depressed that one day I couldn't live like that anymore. I couldn't go to school. Everything was fucked up. I had no money. My dog had like recurring tumors and was bleeding out of his eye all the time. It was winter. I was just like fucked. It was terrible. And I took a bunch of pills and drank my housemate's really expensive scotch and was ready to die. Before that, I had gone in and out of AA many times. I had a couple of like sponsors and started working the steps, but I could never get past the third step. I could admit that I was an alcoholic in my life. I'm not even including all of the terrible things I did when I was drunk. Many, many horrible, horrible accidents, car accidents, hospital visits. My life was completely unmanageable, but I couldn't accept that there was third step to turn our lives and our will over to the care of a God of our understanding. And I actually remember telling my mom, like, who's very faithful, she's very Catholic, like, I don't want to die, but like, I don't want to live, but I want to live. And I feel very similar about faith in God. Like at that time, like I did not believe in God, and I didn't believe in anything, but I wanted to want to. Like it was like a couple steps. And to me later, it became clear that that is like the willingness. And so that's how my first sponsor got me to do everything. So basically I took all the pills. I drank the booze. I was in like such a horrible state. I smelled like piss, and like I just was fucking disgusting. I had scratches all over my face. I just was a total wreck. And my best friend, he's like my brother. He's just amazing, kept calling me because he was checking on me a lot then. And I wasn't answering. And he kept coming to my apartment and knocking on the door until my housemate let him in. And he came into my room and he found me. And this was the second time, pretty much almost an exact year later, that my best friend had found me almost dead. And the first time he made me promise him I would never do it again, because otherwise he wouldn't be my friend anymore. And I did. And there I went. I did it again. And he found me and he called the ambulance and I went to the hospital. It's really fucked up because, you know, I heard somebody said to me in some AA meeting at some point, if you want to reach rock bottom, stop digging. And for me, that is really true. Because I found all sorts of trapdoors. I was like, when I first tried to get sober and got for like almost a year, I was addicted to moonshine. I was in a very abusive relationship with a guy who was hitting me like all the time. And he made moonshine. And I became so addicted to it. It was like horrible. I crashed all these cars. And yet, like, I kept doing it. I just kept drinking because my whole life I'd been able to smoke tons of weed, drink tons of booze, and get really good grades and get into go to really good school. So I thought, I don't even know. Like, I knew I was fucked up, but it was like, oh, I'm so fucked up, but I totally got it together according to like my transcript, which is stupid. I went to the hospital and I met a psychiatrist there who was kind of a bro, and he changed my prescription. So, you know, my story includes psych meds and normalizing mental health. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but then I was undiagnosed, and I met a really awesome psychologist there. I did a lot of therapy. But after that hospital visit and that doctor, Dr. Lohman, the bro, changed all my meds and I started sleeping. I could feel like the electricity in my brain. It was like a machine starting. And ever since then, thank HP, like I have been able to sleep like normal. And I can say that I made it to like fucking serious insanity. And I'm now back to like being a very high performing academic person. And ever since then, I haven't drank alcohol. But a very important part of my story is that right after that, my best friend came to visit me. And he said, like, you have to go back to rehab, no question. And I let him make that decision for me. And so I went back to a very shitty rehab where the pandemic started. And that was in March of 2020. And I stayed there until April, and it was the pandemic. I hated it. I thought it was like the worst fucking place ever. It was gross. They made me do chores. Nobody cared that I was complaining about it. And it became just like, I just really loved it. That was my second rehab. Because it was the pandemic, it was really scary. They like gave us all of these lists of AA meetings and alphabetically like online AA meetings, because AA meetings by Zoom was like a new thing everybody started doing. And right before I got out of rehab, like alphabetically 5D, I'm sure a lot of people have found this, is the first one. And so I started going to 5D April of 2020. And slowly got my life back. The thing that really got me to the third step, which is, I guess, the focus of this, if you take anything away, is like kind of getting through that third step. I have always had what I call really good luck. Like, I have crashed many cars. I have almost died many times, many, many times, and I haven't. And I've always thought it was good luck. And so kind of transferring my idea of luck into this higher power, that helped me. And then also many things happened. Like, one of these lucky things was I never wanted a sponsor. I was like, you know, like, I can do this on my own. I'm too smart for this. I don't need this shit. These people are idiots. Into this meeting that I went to before I went to rehab, came in this woman who was fucking mean bitch, by the way, but is amazing and is a really good friend of mine now. But she was so fucking mean. And she was in my PhD department as a student. And like, we only have like 20 people all together in my PhD department. And so it was like God or HP was like, hello, like, motherfucker, go do this, get this sponsor. And I asked her if she'd be my sponsor, and she's become like one of my best friends, and she helped me get through all of the steps. And so the last thing I'll say is the thing she said to me, which really was like amazing. I told her, like, I don't believe in this whole God thing, because this, like, on page 62 of the big book, it says, you know, self will run riot, right? I was like, I don't want to lose myself because I believe this higher power like controls me. And she said to me very simply, like, what if I told you that this higher power wants you to be the most you can be, the most Carolina you can be? I'm like, that really touched me, because I have done all of this shit. And I realized when I went to fucking rehab and went to art therapy, which I also didn't want to do, is that I like really hate myself. I think very, very terrible things about myself. And so thinking that maybe there's this energy or higher power, God, whatever, who like wants me to be the most me I can be really helped me make that step. And it really helped me to be willing to do all of the other steps, which I still now, after like 2.5 years, don't want to fucking do this. But I still am not drinking and I don't really think about drinking. That's not an option for me. I used to say, like, I'm really afraid of commitment and like I can't commit to this whole being sober thing. But now I've flipped it and I say, like, I know that if I start drinking like one drink, I'm going to kill myself like very soon after. And I'm afraid of committing to being dead. So that's how I think about it now. And I don't know. I mean, to everybody who's new, like, I'm so glad that you're here. And it's so nice to see everybody who are familiar faces and nice to see new faces. Yeah, just like keep coming back. And if this meeting doesn't strike your fancy, there are tons and tons of meetings, and you're always welcome to keep coming back and to come back. That's it. Thank you.